Okay, this is Miss Connor here, and now we're going to look at numbers 3 and 4. These are your quiz answers, so you can do quiz corrections to get half the points back that you've missed. So here's 3 and 4. This is solving by the substitution method. So remember, when you solve by the substitution method, you have to first get the variable by itself. And after you have a variable by itself, then you substitute the expression in the other equation. So those are the steps I'm going to do for all 3 substitution problems, 3 and 4 and 5 on the back. The first step is already done for me in number 3. You can see I have one of the equations solved for a variable. This one is solved for y. And so since that's already done, I can take this expression and I can do step 2. Step 2 says substitute the expression that I have solved for the other variable, and you're going to take that expression and put it in for y in the other equation. So this other equation says x minus 5y equals negative 10. So instead of y, this tells me that y equals negative 2x minus 9. So I am going to substitute negative 2x minus 9 for y. So whatever I substitute, when I substitute the expression in for y, it actually makes it so I have one equation and one unknown, which is x, so I only have to solve for one at a time. So as we look at this equation, I'm going to start by getting rid of the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute my negative 5. So first I do negative 5 times negative 2x. I'm going to write my x here to the side because it's going to come along. But I'll get negative 5 times negative 2x is positive 10x. And then negative 5 times negative 9, that gives me positive, of course a negative times a negative is a positive, positive 45. Now, I'm going to combine like terms. I can combine 1x plus 10x's gives me 11x's. And so I'm running out of space here, so I'm going to come over to here. When I combine 1x plus 10x, I get 11x's, and then plus 45 goes along for the ride. I now have what I would call a two-step equation. I've got to solve for the x. And so when you have a two-step equation, you always want to start with the term next to the x and do addition or subtraction to get rid of it. So this term right here is 45. So because it's positive and I want to take it to the other side of the equal sign, that means I'm going to subtract it from both sides. Again, I'm bringing it to the other side of the equal sign, and by subtracting it, it goes away on the left side, and now on the left side all I have left is 11x. And on the right side, I've got negative 10 plus negative 45. And so that's going to end up being negative 55. My last step, my second step, is to divide by 11 in this series of a two-step equation. And so I have the 11's cancel out, and I get x equals negative 5. I'm not quite done. I need to take my value of x, and I need to substitute it back in. So over here in this equation, I have it solved for y, and I'm going to take that negative 5 and put it in for x there. I'll do that over here. I'm going to put y equals negative 2 times negative 5 minus 9. And this will give me my y value. And so I get negative 2 times negative 5 gives me 10. 10 minus 9 gives me 1. So my answer is negative 5 comma 1. I have to express it as a point because, again, it's two lines, and where they intersect is my solution, just like in the above problem, but I'm using substitution. So that's my first problem, the number 3. My second substitution problem, or number 4 on your quiz, I'm going to do the same process. Again, I already have the first one solved for a variable. I have it solved for y. And since it's already solved for y, I can take the expression that's y, and I can put it into the other equation. So again, when you do that substitution in that second step over here, you're going to end up with one equation and one unknown. In this case, I'm going to be solving for x again. Notice I had to put my parentheses in here because I'm substituting for y this entire expression, x minus 4. So I have to make sure I have those parentheses when I substitute it in. Now, I'm going to have 3x minus, I have to distribute that minus to each term. So minus x, and then I'll have minus negative 4, which you should know is the same as x plus 4. I'm just going to erase it and say, hey, that's the same as x plus 4. So now I have 3x minus 1x plus 4 equals negative 8. So now I'm ready to combine like terms. And so when I do that, 3x minus 1x gives me 2x's. I can't combine with the 4 because there's no x there. And so now I have a two-step equation. Again, in this kind of equation, you always want to start by getting x by itself by subtracting or adding. In this case, I have a positive 4, so to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract it from both sides. That's how I get it across the equal sign. And so when I do that, that 4 goes away, and I only have 2x left. Now I have to figure out, okay, negative 8 plus negative 4, that's the same as negative 12. And my last step is dividing. And I get x equals negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. I'm not quite done. After I get my x value, I need to substitute it into one of the equations. I always like to substitute it into the one that's already solved for y. So if I take this negative 6 and put it in for x here, negative x minus 4 gives me negative 10. So my final answer is negative 6, negative 10. When you're taking a quiz, it's always a good idea to check them and put them back into each equation and make sure they work. So that's it for numbers 3 and 4. Well, let's go ahead and do 5 and do all the substitutions together. Number 5, again, my first step of substitution is done for me. I already have it solved for one variable. It is solved for x. And since it's already solved for x, I don't have to do any kind of algebra. I can just take the expression, and this time I'm putting it in for x. And so this time when I substitute it in, instead of x, I'm going to write y minus 7. I've got one equation with one unknown, and this time my unknown is a y. So I'll start with solving for y. I'm going to first distribute my 6 to eliminate the parentheses. And so I have 6y, 6 times negative 7 gives me minus 42, minus y equals negative 2. I want to combine like terms. Remember, when you combine like terms, you do it when all the like terms are on the same side of the equals. So on the left side of the equals, I have a 6y, that's a like term, and a minus 1y. So I can combine 6y minus 1y gives me 5y. The minus 42, I can't combine with anybody on this side of the equals. So I'm done with combining like terms. Now I'm solving for y. Remember, this is another two-step equation, so I have to start. I don't want to move y because I'm solving for it. I want to start by moving the 42. Since 42 is subtracted, remember I always do addition or subtraction first. In this case, it's best to do addition first. I put 45. Because negative 42 plus positive 42 cancels it out. And that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, it's a 42. Why did I write 40? Plus 42. So positive 42 plus negative 2 gives me positive 40. And now I divide both sides by 5, and I get y equals 8. Now that I know what y equals, I have to find out what x equals. And so I always like to substitute it into the equation where I already have it solved for the other variable. I have this one solved for x. So if I put 8 in for y, what is x going to be? 8 minus 7 is 1. And so my answer is 1, 8. Remember, I always put x first and y second. All right, that's the substitution problems. I'm going to do elimination next on the next video.